Alright, it's a Diesel We the People News one more time. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on this one either. Alright, this is a follow-up on part 1, just to kind of keep it short and sweet. Alrighty, so let's proceed forward on this. Remember, everything has to do with due process. You got to see the magistrate before seeing the jail cell. Innocent people going to jail all the time because nobody, and including attorneys, are not telling people these things. So by even watching this video, let's just say half this shit's correct. Why isn't the attorneys telling you this, y'all?
No discretion to ignore that lack of jurisdiction. The law requires proof of jurisdiction to appear on the record of the administrative agency and all administrative proceedings. Nelson was saying that in the New Jersey Constitution it says it's all administrative. Well, they still got to prove jurisdiction. Any way you want to look at it.
Get that? So when you watch these videos and the judge ignores the people challenging jurisdiction, he is denying due process. Period. And it says right here that he must prove there's jurisdiction. He doesn't get to stay in silence acquiescence. Again, if he does do his silence acquiescence, then the case is won on your behalf if you do it correctly.
Where there is no jurisdiction, there is no judge. And that's what you say, basically, or what I would say. So you want to be a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge, is that correct? Turn it into a question. He can't find you in contempt for asking questions. Anyways, where there's no judge, there's no jurisdiction, there's no judge. The proceeding is as...
I wonder if he could try to file you in contempt when you said, "Are you a fucking asshole?" That's a question. You can't file contempt of court if you're asking a question. You know, I'm not saying try that, but I'm just saying. And if they come back at you, hey, we're going to have meetings of minds. Fuck. According to my definition, is to strike or to move back and forth. I just struck you with words, Your Honor. You piece of shit? Are you a piece of shit? Well, according to my definition, Your Honor, that's a mess on the ground or attorney. Are you not attorney? Just saying.
Nothing. Such has been the law from the days of Marshall Say. Now that's a cite. That's a federal court. This Manning versus Ketchum is a federal court, but they're citing the U.S. Supreme Court in Bradley versus Fisher. That's a U.S. Supreme Court citation, and they are citing 10 Coke 68. That is Lord Coke in the writings. I think it's called the Commentaries on Littleton, which goes back to the 1500s. This is as old as time itself. If they don't have jurisdiction, they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates. And it's up to you to know that's what's going on. That's why I don't go into those so-called courts. And that's why I just file criminal complaints against them. In arriving at our decision in this matter, we do not depart in any way from our holding in Hundling versus Jensen that the doctrine of judicial immunity extends to courts of limited jurisdiction. But when a minor magistrate acts wholly without jurisdiction, civil liability attaches for his malicious and corrupt abuse of process and his willful and malicious oppression of any person under the pretense of acting in his official capacity. It's malicious is what it is. That's exactly what it is. If they don't have probable cause, it's a malicious prosecution. Lack of jurisdiction equals a void judgment. Proceeding without jurisdiction is a malicious prosecution. So we're doing a malicious prosecution, are we here?
Again, even if they pick you up on a warrant and that officer does not show you a warrant, where's the factual evidence that this warrant does exist? Because these officers says, well, we don't have to show you the warrant. Really? Okay. Number one, what factual evidence do you have that you can confiscate my body? Number two, what jurisdiction do you have that you have facts of that you're able to kidnap my body? Now, officer, I guess we need to go to see the magistrate right away. Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't give a shit. The court's open 24 hours a day. Or they wouldn't be able to sign warrants to go bang your door down. Judges do these things at midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning and all that. By gosh, if they could sign warrants and knock your door down, they can come in there and be called out. They don't like it, and that officer may decide, I'm not going to bother the judge at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just saying.
See the void judgments video. If you tell you they have jurisdiction without proving jurisdiction, it's a war crime. So we're doing war crimes here today, are we? And this under the Libra Code. Okay, so we go into that. And some of this stuff is slides from other presentations that are about it. A place, district, or country occupied by an enemy stands in consequence of the occupation under the martial law of the invading or occupying army, whether any proclamation declaring martial law or any public warning to the inhabitants has been issued or not. Texas is under a military occupation. I believe that everywhere in America is under a military occupation, but the question is how do you prove it? I can prove it in Texas for sure, any of the southern states. Martial law is the immediate and direct effect and consequence of occupation or consequence. The presence of the hostile army proclaims its martial law. Martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the commander-in-chief. There's been no proclamations ending martial law anywhere that I've seen. Or by special mention in a treaty of peace, and I've read a lot of treaties of peace, and none of them say anything about the martial law ending. And you know, if you think about it, that's why they want martial law. They want this military dictatorship going on because that's their agenda in slavery. Okay, because it's all coming from the Roman cult is where it's coming from. Anyways, that's Article 2 of the Libra Code. All Civil War states are under military occupation: Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky. All of the states and the territory conquered in the war with Mexico are under military occupation, and that's Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Nevada. Dictation equals dictatorship, okay, which is military dictatorship, and they even talk about dictation in the Libra Code. Law enforcement means they're enforcing the martial law. That's why they call them law enforcement officers, because they're enforcing the martial law. When the southern states walked out of Congress in 1861, they ceased to have a quorum. Under executive authority, Lincoln ordered Congress to reconvene. When the Supreme Court ruled against something Lincoln did, he ordered troops to the Supreme Court. And even today, the Supreme Court, under Rule 45, it says all process of this court issues in the name of the President of the United States. Okay, so there's no separation of powers. It's all a military dictatorship is what it is. Sooner we figure that out, the sooner we'll bring it to an end. But the people are so brain-dead idiots that they sit there, and that's why it continues for, 150 years. All statutes, state or federal, passed prior to 1861 are lawful de jure statutes. All statutes, state or federal, passed after 1861 are martial law statutes. That's why you see the pigs murdering everybody on TV. Two national governments exist, one to be maintained under the Constitution with all its restrictions, the other to be maintained by Congress outside and independently of that instrument. U.S. Supreme Court, 1901. In 1871, Congress set up a corporation to operate as the government of District of Columbia, and that's what's operating today. The tyrant who, in order to hold his power, suppresses every superiority, does away with good men, forbids education and life, controls every movement of the citizens, and keeping them under perpetual servitude, wants them to grow accustomed to baseness and cowardice, has his spies everywhere to listen to what is said in the meetings, and spreads dissension and calumny among the citizens, and impoverishes them, is obliged to make war in order to keep the subjects occupied and impose upon them a permanent deed of a chief. Well, gee, that's...
Geez, what is Google doing? What is Facebook doing? What is all these cameras everywhere at the stop signs, in every government building, and every Walmart stores, and everywhere you go? What? What are you saying? That to keep an eye on everybody?
Sounds like martial law. And that sounds like that's a perfect definition of Obama for sure. And I don't think that Trump is doing that stuff, but certainly Obama did. It's an established.
Disagreed. Trump was involved in it, even though he was opening up things. He was still under the UN once it took so-called oath of office.
The fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9, 1933, declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent. To suspend the gold standard, let's go back. HJR 192, 73rd Congress, in session June 5th, 1933, joint resolution to suspend.
Now, I just want to say that HJR let everybody know in that Congress and all that, if the people knew what we was doing, they would come after us with pitchforks and run through here and take over. All right, because at that given time, people did not trust banks at all. Period. And that's the reason why they did this, because they was hiding their money and keeping it out of the banks and all that kind of stuff. And dare I say it, that's not my words. That is HJR. Now I keep on saying FDR, but it's HJR.
Gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. And that's from the U.S. Congressional Record, March 17, 1993. And notice, March 9, 1933. On that same day, since March 9, 1933, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. That's martial law. Under the powers delegated by these statutes, the President may seize property, organize and control the means of production, seize commodities, assign military forces abroad, institute martial law, seize and control all transportation and communication, regulate the operation of private enterprise, restrict travel, and in a plethora of particular ways control the lives of all American citizens. Majority of the people of the United States have lived all their lives under emergency rule for 40 years. Freedoms and governmental procedures guaranteed by the Constitution have in varying degrees been abridged by laws brought into force by states of national emergency. And that's taken from U.S. Senate Report number 93-549, dated November 19, 1973. I've got a YouTube video about that report. Pentagon Inc., Google, YouTube, Facebook, Amazon masquerading as private companies, okay? CIA set up these companies, okay? Which Central Intelligence Agency. It's owned by the Roman cult. It's a private company.
Wasn't Zuckerberg grandson of one of the Rockefellers or something like that?
Sorry?
Zuckerberg. Yeah,
I've heard that. I've heard that he's tied in.
Yeah, he's like a grandson of the Rockefellers.
I've heard that he was tied into the CIA too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was involved with some program that the CIA was doing and then just rolled it over into Facebook.
Yeah, they just changed the name of it, right?
Martial law in a hostile country consists in suspension by the occupying military authority of the criminal and civil law and of the domestic administration and government of the occupied place or territory, and in the substitution of military rule and force for the same, as well as in the dictation of general laws. All statutes, codes, rules, and regulations are edicts under martial law. As far as military necessity requires this suspension, substitution, and dictation. Okay, so it's the law of necessity. The law of emergency is martial law. And that's why you see martial law here, okay, because the federal government's bankrupt and all these code enforcers are U.S. citizens, and so it's the law of emergency. And so all police, that's what brings the Lieber Code into New Jersey and all the rest of the states. The commander of the forces may proclaim the administration of all civil and penal law shall continue either wholly or in part, as in times of peace, unless otherwise ordered by the military authority. The last thing they...
All right, we're going to stop here. We should a couple videos again. I said look up Title 18 USC 911. Saying U.S. citizen to claim you're a U.S. citizen is a felony. Well, that's because you technically are not supposed to be foreign. Alright, we'll leave it here, y'all. This will be the People News. Bye, y'all.